Okay, so hello everyone. I'm going to talk to you about the future. I'm going to talk to you about megatrends and trends and a little bit about the future of finance. I will a little bit open my background, how to become a futurist, because sometimes people are just thinking that is there some school to make futurists? Well, actually no. I have a background in chemical engineering and in plastics. And now I have to say about the last speaker's opinion that plastics versus wood or bioplastics, it's not that simple. But I don't go further into that. But I have also a PhD in business administration. I did it about weak signals, so it was about future studies. And now, as I'm that old that my kiddies have left the house, so you know that there's a big empty hole in your life, what your husband can't fulfill totally. So then you have to do something. So I went to National Defense University and I'm doing my second PhD thesis there. And the topic is how to use science fictions to anticipate defense organizations' future. So future of war. I'm not going to talk about that, don't worry. These are some of the books that I've been writing. I have been writing like 14 books and some of them have been translated to Finnish, but one of the books that I'm very much talking is about megatrends. And that is a book I wrote in 2019. But now I'm going to tell you about the future. I don't know the future. Please don't leave now. But I have to say that nobody knows what is going to happen in the future. Nobody can predict the future, and that is something that all the futurists start the futures thinking. Well, of course, that doesn't mean that we don't have to think about future. That actually means that that is really the reason why we should think about what could happen in the future, because nobody can predict it. I know banks have some predictions of the GDP next year, but then I wrote one book and interviewed a person in bank doing these predictions, and they were saying that they made multiple predictions, but media only sticks to one prediction. So that is the way also futurists think. So we have to think about different kind of futures. So that is really, so when we are thinking about the futures, it's not only one door to the future, so we have to think of multiple doors to the future, and we have to even think about the windows to the future. So if the future is behind the red door or in the red window. So this is the idea what I'm going to talk. So there is no future of finance, one future. There are possibilities, threats, there are different kind of futures for finance and banking, and that is my idea, what I'm going to speak here today. One of the things when I studied at Helsinki University of Technology, this chemistry, polymer chemistry stuff, it took me like 6 years. I never became a chemist after that. Of course, I got my diploma, and I got a husband there. That's actually very good. It only took 6 years to get a husband. So for many other people, I think that it's a longer process. For me, it was only 6 years. But okay, something else also stuck to my life from the Helsinki University of Technology, and that was that I love formulas. Who is loving formulas? Yes, yes. Love your spouses too, but also love formulas, please. Because they are making their life so much simpler. Actually, I have a formula for life too. Do you want to hear it? Yeah. Life equals death minus birth. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's brilliant. If you go and ask a philosopher what is life, then you can spend 2 or 3 weeks to listening what it might be or might not. But you ask engineer, you get a simple formula. But that's why I have actually a formula how to anticipate the future. So it goes like this. Anticipating the future equals facts plus imagination. And the idea there is that you should actually look at the facts. What is the trends and megatrends that are happening now? And they are about history and today. We don't have facts about the future. We have guesses about the future, but we don't have any facts about the future. So, but you should look at the history today about the facts, But then to go to the future, you need imagination. And this, I've been in this business for maybe 20 years, and I have to say that companies, organizations are very good with factual information. They know all the facts. But when it comes to the imagination, how many of you have Lego blocks in your offices? Now you can lift your hand. You can. There's one person, yeah, and you work at home. Yeah, I understand it. Me too. Okay, but anyway, so you need to have the imagination. But now I will start about the facts. And I have also realized that when I'm talking about megatrends, trends, weak signals, they are sometimes something that, like, for example, when it comes to megatrends, which are, next slide, which are very big global trends that have been there for many years or decades, and they will somehow affect the future. And when I've been talking about the megatrends, usually people are noting that, well, I have a list of 10 megatrends. So this is first 5 megatrends. And when you see the climate change, eco-crisis and loss of biodiversity, increase of population, demographic change, urbanization, people are usually nodding their heads. And yeah, come on, tell me something new. But the thing is, what I encourage companies, organizations to do is dig into deeper to these megatrends. What are they actually meaning? What does it mean when we talk about climate change? What does it mean when we talk about eco-crisis and loss of biodiversity? I have to say that for me, I will show you later on the last 5 megatrends, but for me, the megatrends that are the most important for the future are the two of the first of these megatrends, so climate change and eco-crisis and loss of biodiversity. I was very happy to hear that this loss of biodiversity, well, it's something new. Well, we are starting to talk, yeah, it's a big thing. It's not a new thing, it's a big thing. It's happening already, and this is something that you should do something, because it's causing big problems to us. And then these 2 megatrends, climate change and eco-crisis, they are like walking hand in hand, and they are affecting to each other. And they are very lethal when we think about the future of the world. I'm very worried about these 2 megatrends. Not the other megatrends, but, well, of course, there are challenges with the other megatrends. These are the 5 last megatrends: globalization, increase of wealth and consumption. And here, when we talk about consumption, especially overconsumption, that is the challenge in the world. Increase of inequity, digitalization, and technological development. So these are 10 big megatrends that are affecting now. They are here now, and they will affect some way in the future. It's not necessarily that they are going to be the same in the future, probably not. And if we think about, for example, climate change, I really hope that we are going to solve this problem somehow, and it's not going to be the same or even the worse in the future. I hope for the best, but of course we have to do something about it. But for example, when we think about the globalization megatrend, there are things that have happened during last years. When we speak about Corona, for example, we noticed that everybody is like taking care of their own country, and especially when we were talking about these healthcare products that were needed for Corona. So countries were fighting for these products. And then when we think about the globalization, we start to talk about these kind of certain blocks in the world, and there is USA, Europe, then there's BRICS countries, and China is interesting. One of the things that I'm saying all the time, if you're interested about the future, and especially artificial intelligence, look at what is happening in China. China is a very interesting country. But anyway, now I'm starting to dig into deeper to these megatrends. And I will start with the climate change and eco-crisis. And well, here are some effects. Rising temperatures, melting glaciers, more extreme weather events, more rainfall. By the way, now it was a little bit snowing. I don't know if you have noticed, but there has been a little bit snow here. And then there are some I'm trying to now figure very nice words. What is a nice word for smart ass? Well, you know, anyway, saying Twitter that, come on, that people are talking about the climate change, and now we have snow here. Come on, forget the climate change. Come on, extreme weather events. But anyway, rising sea level, less food production, and so on. And when we talk about loss of biodiversity, fewer how do you say this, insects that are pollinating flowers and food. This is a little bit problematic if we don't have insects that are pollinating the food. For example, in China, I read, because I'm very interested also these weak signals, there is one occupation that the person is actually pollinating trees, apple trees. So there's one person with a little bit cotton stick, and is this the world in the future? I really hope that we have somebody else to do that. Well, then challenges, we have challenge with microplastics and so on. So I'm very worried about the state of the world, economic state of the world, ecological state of the world, of course economic, but yeah. And then we can start to list what are the causes for these eco-crises, for example. We have even today cities that are struggling to get fresh water for people, and then there are many millions of people in the world that do not have access to fresh water. And then there are some materials that we don't even realize, or actually it was very surprise for me that we are lacking sand. And now all the cats are like saying, no. No, it's not for the cats, it's for construction. And when we are talking urbanization, and it's the thing that we need certain type of sand when we do the construction work. And so we are having all this kind of like challenges with materials, and then the food production, will it change in the future? If you now have read the news in Finland, there's a little bit challenges with the agriculture because the spring is a little bit too late. And it is definitely affecting the food production. Also the climate change, there are studies that it's decreasing the crops all over the world. So these are going to be challenges. And now, did you notice that they have chocolate? There, yeah. You can take as many as if you want, if you have pockets, so. Because this is only for the future, because in the future it might be that climate change is affecting that we don't have certain foods, for example, chocolate, coffee, yeah, you can take as many cups of coffee as you want. And there might be a certain type of foods that we don't have anymore. We are lacking the chocolate. That's horrible future, I think. I'm a little bit joking here. Now you can laugh. Almost there. Okay, then we have a certain type of new health issues when we are talking about the climate change, and these health issues can also affect, for example, crops and our nature. So we have certain these insects that are destroying, for example, sprout. What is kuusi? It's in English. Spruce, like Spruce Springsteen. So, yeah, but there is this certain type of insect that is actually affecting the spruce person, please. Yes, those trees in the middle of Europe, and because of the climate change, they might be affecting the future of Finnish woods or forest also. So there are challenges when we talk about the climate change. Extreme weather events are affecting how we live in the future and so on. And of course, logistics and traveling when we have storms. And then this is something that was opening my eyes when I thinking about this climate change and the effects. And one of the things that futurists do is that we think about the effects, we think about some event, for example, or some trend. for example, climate change, and then we start to think about the effects of the climate change. For example, extreme weather conditions or extreme heat and so on. And then we start to think about what are the consequences of those consequences. And there is a small picture of that there inside of the other picture. And once I was going to have a lecture somewhere in Finland, and I was going to railway station and looking at that, what is the platform that the train is leaving. And I tried to look at the LED display there, and then I noticed that there was something else. It was like broken, and they had a text that because of the last summer was the warmest since 1937, it burned. This LED display burned. And we are now replacing it. And this, I think, is a very good question for all of the organizations, that what are the LED displays that can be burned because of the climate change. And so thinking about the causes and causes of the causes and so on. And when we think about the climate change, it's definitely causing economic losses. And I think it was yesterday, there was the news of the one study at Nature magazine that we really are losing money because we are fixing all the troubles that climate change is causing us. So it's really costing us. And then there are studies that how much will be the loss of the GDP worldwide if we go to the +2, or which is the Paris Agreement, or 1.5, and if we go to the future where the temperature increase would be something like 3 or 4, of course the economic losses are increasing and increasing. So it's only wise to do something about this, and this can cause us very big troubles in the future. So the carbon neutral world is something that we are aiming to, which is very good. And then when we are talking about the solutions, circular economy is very important. Circular economy. It's not only recycling, it's also thinking about different kind of business models that are leading to the world that we are consuming less and less. And then green transitions. I have to say that sometimes, engineers are smart, usually, and if you give them good problems to solve, they can usually solve them. But I wouldn't trust that technology would solve all the challenges when it comes to the climate change. We have to use, for example, our way to think about the nature and our way to consume and so on. So it's not only the technical solutions. Of course, they are a big part of that, and I believe that there might be some cool innovations in that. Okay, so they were the two first megatrends, and then I will have a second megatrend, which is increase of population and demographic change. How many people there are in the world? Is there any schoolgirl or boy here? Because they would usually know. No idea? 7 billion? 8 billion is closer. And this is very important actually. As I was saying, talking about these megatrends, usually people know something about. We are familiar with the names like the population is increasing. But then the numbers are somehow forgotten. And in this sense, I would suggest to a little bit study the world, what is happening here. And there's about 8.1 billion of us here in the world. And I have to say, I have to confess that as being here in this business for 20 years, I have to check it up all the time when I go into the States. It's not that it's there all the time, this 8.1. It has changed and it is going to change. Now you probably have read, there's quite many articles about this, that the population of world is going to decrease. well, it's not going to decrease. The rate of population increasing is a little bit slowing. It's slowing, but it's not meaning that the population is going to decrease here. There's a little bit like different kind of estimates by United Nations, and one of them is like there will be about 10.5 to 11 billion till 2100. And when I was born, okay, I can confess, I'm a little bit like over 50 years old. So when I was born, there were only 4 billion people in the world. And now there are double the amount in 50 years. And I'm responsible only for 2, but the rest... Imagine, in 50 years, the world population have doubled. So I think it's quite amazing. And then there are continents, which I actually say that when we are talking about certain continents called Africa, that is going to be the continent of the future. It's so interesting. The population growth is going to be exponential there. It's the only continent where the population growth is going to increase. In Asia, it's going to decrease. The population growth. And then there are some countries like Nigeria, which I find very interesting country. The 3 most populated country in the world are now, first is India, now it's India is the first. The second is China, and the third is USA. 2050, it's going to be India, China, and Nigeria. So this is very good thing to keep in mind. Then, when we talk about the aging of population, Finland is the 3rd aging population. Yeah, torille, party time. Yeah. Well, Finland is very much aging here. And then, when we start to actually compare certain countries there, I will check if it's in my next slide. No. But if we start to compare certain countries, and if we compare like India, for example, it's 1.5 billion people there. And about half of the Indian population could be labeled as young people, so 700 million. And then in European Union, there is something over 400 million people altogether. So there are 700 million youngs compared to all of the European population, which is something for 450 or something million. So it's when we are talking about certain challenges, for example, where do we get the workers in the future? I think that globally, when we take a global scale, so there are already answers there. Well, when the population is aging, we are having certain kind of challenges. So, for example, increased need for elderly care and shortage of workers. I see actually that there are 5 solutions to the shortage of workers. So, immigration, senior workers, artificial intelligence and robotics, re-education, and taking care of the well-being of the workers. Because when we are talking about the workers here in Finland, and especially the young workers, it's the mental health issue that are causing trouble with the workers. So if you are not taking care of the workers, so you might have a little bit challenges in the future. Where do you get the workers if they all have burnout, for example? I'm a burnout survivor myself, so you can survive it, but it's taking a long time. So it's better not to get your workers burnout. Okay. So the future of the work, for example, what could it be? This is my daddy. My daddy is 88 years old, and he's an engineer. And he's doing this kind of weird stuff, I don't understand, but he's this plumbing and air conditioning, he's calculating them. He can't use that much. This is the fake photo because he's not using computer. It's not, but I just wanted to take a photo so it's like engineers usually work, but he's working with, he has all the papers and tables where he's looking at some numbers. He's 88 years old, and I was asking him that, okay, why do you work? You still have the pension, and you wouldn't need to work. And he was saying that, well, it's keeping me insane. And I think this is something that we should also start to talk when we are talking about the future of the work. So what kind of workplace we will have the future? What are the workers in the future? Could we have like 90 years old workers in the future? I think that we could. I'm the person that in 40 years when we are having again this get together, lovely get together here, I'm having my, I don't know how do you call it in English, but in Finnish it's rollaattori, it's like coming like this or with the sticks or something, but I'm still going to have my speeches. It might be that I'm not hearing anything or I'm seeing anything, but I hope that I can speak. But this is one thing about the future. Then definitely when we think about the future of work and these megatrends, we are more having these multicultural living and working environments, so on. Urbanization, globalization are two megatrends, and they have some effects. So over half of the world population are living in the cities, and cities will grow in size, which means that we are having these kind of like mega cities. If there's 5.5 million people here in Finland, in a mega city there's over 10 million people living there. And then if we think about the future challenges, and this is always when I'm talking about megatrends, is I want to emphasize that sometimes we can see that these are big problems of the world. But as I was studying in the business school, I will see them big business challenges, opportunities, I would say, big business opportunities. So for example, when we are talking about the cities, there are challenges. Affordable housing, pollution, noise, waste, plumbing, climate change are affecting the cities because cities are usually located next to the, big cities are located next to the sea and traffic jams and so on. And then when we talk about globalization, we have challenges with these blocking world blocks, and now we have seen the rise of new type of crises. And one of the things, especially what I notice here when I'm studying at the National University, National Defense University, was that usually located here in Finland, people are thinking that as we have the 1,300 kilometers borderline with Russia, so that is the big thing. No, the biggest thing is the sea. And that is, it's about 80 to 90% the export and import is going through the sea. So if that is blocked, so then we really have the problem there. That was the one thing that I learned at National Defense University. And then we have these challenges, how to integrate immigrants into the society better. And one of the things when we think about the climate change is that definitely it's going to increase the amount of immigrants. It's going to affect that, and we are more and more facing the facts that how do we integrate. And in my opinion, the hate isn't the right way to get people to integrate into our society. We should have something else to do with that. Megatrends: increasing wealth and overconsumption and rising inequality. So these are the some megatrends. And well, if we look at to the history and look at, for example, the GDP per person in the world, it has increased constantly. And we have had this nice thing that, for example, the absolute poverty has decreased. So in 1980s, it was about 40% of the world population lived in absolute poverty, which is, I think, amazing amount of people. And now it's less than 10%, which is still 10% too much. But there are positive things that have happened, but then there are also negative things, which is the overconsumption. And it is really one of the biggest cause for environmental risk and climate change and biodiversity loss. When we are consuming, it's consuming the environment. The bad news is that the world and the environment will survive without us, but we won't survive without the environment. So that's why it's like it should be all the basics for every like economic decisions also, looking at a little bit more longer perspective than that short term wins there. And again, circular economy is one of the things that I want to emphasize. Then digitalization and technological development. I'm a nerd myself, and I really like all the technological gadgets. And actually, it was something 9 years ago. There was this kind of like very little NFC chip installed into my hand. And when I went home, I had this electric lock, and then I waved my hand, and the lock recognized me. It read the chip, and the number of the chip, and then the door opened to me. I don't have it anymore. Luckily, I don't have it anymore. I didn't have it anymore at Corona times when people really started to be afraid of these chips. And come on, we are having chips everywhere. Well, anyway, so this is my true love, and we know that digitalization and all the technological development is definitely going to affect us in the future even more. And if we go 10 years or 20 years back to the history or backwards, we notice that life has changed very much. I think it was 2007 when iPhone was launched first time. And imagine 2007, and now we are living with our smartphones, and we are navigating, we are doing everything with our smartphones. Okay, so these were the big megatrends, and then we have smaller trends that are more, I would say, local or affecting in certain area of life. And as a futurist, I'm also collecting these kind of trends. And this is what futurists do. When we start to think about the future, we start to collect the information. And the most important information, I would say, are the megatrends. So if you don't have time to do the futures thinking, so one of the things I would say that at least take your time to look at the megatrends, because they are not even the future, they are today, they are affecting today very much. So these are something that you should really concentrate on. But trends, here are some of the, I've been making this trends list, and these are consumer trends. I was writing a book about consumers. Today is a Dogs Day. Did you know that? So one of the consumer trends is petful life, meaning that pets are becoming more our family members than tools to, for example, guard the house. Then there's increase of hedonism, me, perfect me. And then the other type of or anti-trend for that is many kind of us, so increase of diversity and understanding the diversity. So this is one thing. New and the weird is industry boundaries are broken and startups produce new innovation and so on. So I'm listing these kind of like trends. So these are consumer trends. So what are the consumers doing? What are people? How are people behaving? But I would say about these trends that these are more like Western type of trends. These are not definitely African type of trends. So this is one example that when we talk about the trends, they are quite focused on some certain area of life or geographical area. But if you are interested, you can see these films in actually my web pages, which are www.elinahiltunen.com. Then I have listed some technological trends. This is a very small list because 10 years ago I wrote a book about future of technology. So it was talking about big things that are happening in the technology. And here are some examples. Well, artificial intelligence is very hot topic now. The first time term artificial intelligence was mentioned, it was in 1956. So it's not a new thing there, but now these new language models have really made a difference now. Metaverse, Internet of Things, blockchain, quantum computers, synthetic biology, renewables, carbon capture and storage, robotics, tissue engineering. These are only just some examples because there are a huge amount of these technological trends. But if you are interested about the future of technology, there are two trends to focus on, and they are quantum computing and synthetic biology. These are most interesting. As I'm writing science fiction, they are the good sources for science fiction. Then there is the digital trends. this is something when we are talking about digitalization, which is like awful to pronounce, but anyway, digitalization of the world. What is digital world? What does it mean? So I made this kind of like infographics about what I mean, what is included in the digital world. And today, definitely artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning are something that we are now talking about when we are talking about the coming of artificial intelligence. But there are many other stuff included in that, for example, robotics, big data, 3D printing, and so on. And then, of course, I was like collecting these finance trends. What are the trends that could affect the finance and banking sector in the future? So, for example, blockchain, digital and cryptocurrencies, cloud services, open banking, mobile payments, personal finance applications, AI and big data analysis, security risk increasing, sustainable finance, which is very important, and customer experience. So these are examples of finance trends. I know that you are actually the expert when it comes to the finance trends, so you can then discuss about this later on. Okay, so then I was talking about the megatrends, then I was talking about trends, but now I'm going to talk about weak signals. And these weak signals, they are my favorite. They are so weird, they are so strange. I like all the weird and, well, not all the weird and strange, but many of the weird and weird things. But this is one example. This is an example I spotted in one Finnish shop, and it's an augmented reality makeup tester. So if you want to try something, so you can actually take a picture of you, and then it's showing that what kind of makeup you would have with this. And these are examples of weak signals. And when we talk about weak signals, it's something that everything we have nowadays here. So, for example, computers, cars, trains, and so on, we have had weak signals when they came to the market. And for example, the first car in the beginning of 20th century, people were wondering that what is this machine? Where are the horses in that machine? And now when we think about the car, we know what is a traffic jam and so on. And the idea here is that we try to collect these weak signals, which are all over the places, because the future is happening now, and some of the changes are weak, and they have the weak signals of them, and they can really tell about the future. And what I do, I have been doing this for 20 years, so I'm collecting the weak signals. I have these databases that I add my weak signals. For example, Instagram is one of the things. I have future weak signals is my account, and here are some weak signals that I spotted in Japan. Look at the lady, she's carrying the dog like a baby. Like, I would like to put my retriever into that kind of, it would be a little bit difficult maybe to carry that, but, or my Rottweiler, that would be so cool. I don't have a Rottweiler. This is one example from Japan.
変なホテルにようこそ。精算機で手続きをしてください。Welcome to Henna Hotel.
So, I was visiting in Henna Hotel, which is maybe the only hotel in the world that have these human-like robots working there. And these were quite stupid robots. I have seen much clever human-like robots. Actually, I was today in the morning in Finnish TV talking about these robots, and I showed this video also. But this is an example. Could the world be like this in 20 years? Maybe. Here is another example. It's 3D display from Japan. And this is one example. I went to the optic store, and I noticed that they have some scanner, and of course I wanted to go to the scanner and hope that it wasn't very dangerous radiation that they are sending. And then they were scanning my head, And now they are testing me the eyeglasses frames, and the artificial intelligence here is suggesting, it's noticing that now this is a Western type of woman who has a very big nose, and then these are probably the good frames for her face, and then this person is now starting to test these different kind of frames to my face, and actually it's made also a haircut for me because I had a long hair at that time, but it obviously wanted to show me some signal there. But the idea here is that this is a digital twin. My head is in the cloud even at this moment. It's in the cloud, and I could go there and look at my head in the cloud, and I could buy eyeglasses from Japan now because I have my head in the cloud. So these are examples of weak signals, and the idea there is that as you get the weak signals, one weak signal doesn't tell you about the future of anything. It can be just something weird, but it's like a puzzle. When you start to collect the puzzle and combine these puzzles together, then you might see that, okay, there's a bigger trend maybe now I can see the picture. There's something picture that is emerging here, and then you could start to make, for example, finance decisions or these kind of things. Start to think that this might be the big thing in the future. When we talk about the future, I was saying that we don't stuck to one future when it comes to, for example, future of finance and banking. The idea here is to think about different futures, and with futurists we call them scenarios. We call this scenario thinking, and the idea there is really that you combine the facts, you combine different kind of megatrends that you have collected. You have collected some trends, you have collected weak signals, and then you combine them, and then you add the imagination. What if these trends would take us to that direction or that direction or that direction? And then you get the scenarios, and scenarios are actually stories of the future. And here, because I'm a little bit lazy, I asked Google Gemini, so the artificial intelligence tool, to create 3 scenarios of the future of finance. And then it created 3 scenarios. And these are about algorithm age, and it's very much based on the artificial intelligence that is guiding the financing decisions, for example. Then we have decentralized revolution, blockchain boom, and crypto economy. And then the scenario 3 is there is environmental, social, and governance focus on these every decisions that we make. They are affecting the investing decisions. And the idea here is that when we have these different kind of stories of the future of finance, then we start to think about our strategy. So, if our strategy is this, how would we survive in this kind of environment? What if the future would be this kind of, or this kind of scenario 3? So what would we do to our strategy? So when I was working at Nokia at one time, it wasn't my fault that Nokia failed. They just didn't listen to the futurists there. But there was one guy who was working with scenario thinking, and he was saying that this is like putting a car to the wind test tunnel, and you test the car in a certain wind. So is it strong wind or weaker wind, and how would it survive there? So scenarios are the same thing. You put the strategy in the wind tunnel, and the winds are certain kind of scenarios. So you think that what should I do to survive in the future, if the future would be like scenario 1, 2, or 3. Again, this I think is very important. So future is not only to be anticipated, it's very important to understand that we have also the possibility to create the future, be the pioneers, to show the road that we are going, and especially when it comes to the climate change and biodiversity loss. You are in key position in making a good and better world for all of us. So please, I would hope that you would do this better future. But this was my presentation now, so I hope that you got some new ideas. Thank you very much.